The Democrats actually are becoming a far-left party. I mean, they're becoming a radical party. You look at what they want to do with the Supreme Court. You look at what they want to do with the voting age. Where did that come all of a sudden? The voting age at 16. They're becoming radical. They are radicalized. You look at this Green New Deal. It's the most preposterous thing. Now, I don't want to knock it too much right now because I really hope they keep going forward with it, you know, frankly, because I think it's going to be very easy to beat.
President Trump in a new interview, an exclusive interview with Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo, sounding pretty confident in his 2020 odds because of the Democrats' drift to the far left. Joining me now is Democrat strategist David Morey and American Majority founder and CEO Ned Ryun. Good to see you both. Thanks for being here on this Friday night, a historic Friday night, about which we'll talk more in just a moment. But David, when you hear the litany of these radical programs coming out from Democrats, the Green Deal, the packing of the Supreme Court, having a voting age of 16, do you get a little nervous that the president might be right?
Well, I think the president is favored to be reelected, David, if we had to look at it tonight. But I think you're citing, you know, the pace car for the Democratic Party, AOC, versus the center of gravity. Wait till Biden gets in the race. You know, you're going to have a lot more, you know, by the time you get to a general election, let's see where the party is. They're taking some initiatives. And don't forget, Donald Trump has overserved his base more than any president in history. He's very good at creating a kind of reaction on the part of his opponents. And that's in some ways what you're seeing during this kind of messy primary season on the Democratic side. But, Ned,
you even have Democrat, formerly middle of the road, what used to be called middle of the road Democrats, like Ed Rendell. Used to be governor of Pennsylvania. He was mayor of Philadelphia. He was a bigwig in the Democrat Party. He is very nervous right now. He said he thought we had a slam dunk until the leftward drift began, going further and further and further. Now he's very worried.
Well, he should be, because I think the real power inside the Democratic Party lies with the progressive left, with the hard left, with the small dollar donors, with the grassroots activists. I'm convinced, David, that the nominee for the Democrats in 2020 will have to swear allegiance to all of these crazy ideas: the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, free college, universal basic income. You know, you were talking about AIPAC earlier. I think they're going to have to swear allegiance to the boycott, divestment, sanction movement against Israel. They're going to have to swear to all of these to actually win the nomination. And then the amazing part is, about 90 days after they've won that nomination, somehow try to pivot to the middle and try to convince Americans that they're somehow centrist, when in fact they've sworn allegiance to all these far-left socialist ideas. I think they're in a lot more trouble than they want to admit right now. And I think Donald Trump is very well positioned with the substance of his policy, whether it's the economy, all the other things that he's working on. Again, he has delivered to his base a lot of these things, like judges. So well, I think he's coming into the 2020 election looking very, very good.
And then you have the news today. The Mueller probe in the hands of William Barr, 22 months long, 34 people were indicted, but Democrats don't seem to like that they're going to the left if they don't hear what they want to hear. I mean, the point is that the Trump collusion charge apparently was not produced. It was not produced in congressional investigations. Apparently, it hasn't been produced by the Mueller investigation. So, David, if in fact that turns out to be so, from the reports that we're getting, do Democrats continue with these investigations that are likely to go nowhere in terms of collusion?
Look, I think that we're at an historic crossroads. I think we need 100% transparency. We don't actually know what's in the report so far, so let's hold our breath there. The Democrats will continue with investigations if the Mueller report aims them in those directions. In some ways, you know, I sort of suspect that the President Trump will not be accused or culpable of collusion in this report. But I suspect both sides will find things in the report that are not comfortable for each. So this thing's going to keep going. And remember, there's 100% certainty the Russians meddled in the election. They're probably going to try again. And there's an awful lot of indictments around the president that show there's a lot of smoke there. So let's see what the Mueller report says first.
Well, and in fact, Ned, I think the Russians have tried to interfere in every election in my lifetime, and I'm not a young guy anymore. But the point is that there was no collusion. No charge of collusion has ever been proven, and it appears from what we know now that the Mueller report is going to say as much. So where do the Democrats go from here, and where do the Republicans go in terms of using this as a campaign issue?
Well, first of all, I would say it's very hard to turn a fairy tale into facts, and that's what this Russian collusion thing has been. It's been a fairy tale. There never was, there isn't, and there never will be, because, again, you can't make a fairy tale into facts. I think what's going to happen is that the left is this is all about them still being unable to come to grips with the election results of 2016, David. This is a massive political tantrum. And the whole thing that they are wanting to do is basically nullify the 2016 elections. The punishment is the process, and they're going to continue to do investigations as long as they can leading into the 2020 elections to punish Trump for winning an election they think he shouldn't have won. Republicans need to actually dig on this. And I will say this, David, after listening to this collusion hoax and fairy tale for 2 years and going up against people on all different sorts of channels, I am not willing to let them off the hook for essentially trying to destabilize our democracy by pushing a conspiracy theory. So I think there's going to be a lot of consequences, and I hope there are, for people in the media, on the left, in the Democratic Party, who have been pushing this with the intent of damaging the duly elected president of the United States.